Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So today we're just taking a pretty short video, just gonna have a quick look at these tier 4 Barbarian Warband. We'll go with that. I don't think we'll try and pronounce that word. So I've not really got these very much upgraded yet. I just had the chainmail to carry over from the tier 3s. But I've been kind of enjoying these guys for the couple of battles I've had with them so far. They seem pretty decent. They're a pretty solid infantry unit. Obviously, similar to the last video when we talked about the Barbarians and we did some ambushing of the Romans in the forest, which was quite fun. They aren't obviously an open plain battle combat unit. They will not face off against Roman infantry in the open and win. So they're sort of a bit more of a subtle through the forest unit, and that's kind of how they're supposed to be played. I'm a very big fan of Vercengeterix's Scorched Earth. That's really good fun. And it recharges, so I think it's every 120 seconds at the moment, although that gets less as you go up the tiers. You get to throw some flaming Scorched Earth, and it just accrues damage on the enemy units, regardless of their armour and health and that sort of thing. And you can get quite a lot of damage if you land your flames properly. But anyway, we're going to have a quick look at a battle today. This one's a bit more, it's not a particularly great battle, but it's kind of like a fighting retreat. And we're sort of continually trying to delay the enemy and that sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting to watch. So I shall see you all in the battle. So you join me on the Battle of the Rubicon. We spawned in. I normally always seem to pick this side. I like this sort of barley fields, particularly if you're on this side of the map, because you get this watchtower at the start, which some friendly barbarian warriors, the same unit as me, are moving up to secure. So it gives you really good visibility about what's coming, and with these sort of quicker barbarians, if there's too much coming, then it gives you the option of retreating as well. So from the off we can see we've got some tier 4 war dogs. There's some both hoplites and pikes. We've got both of them there, and some Roman tier 4 infantry. So these dogs unleash and charge straight at the watchtower, but then I think they seem to think better of it as they land. They're just about to charge in and they think, oh no, I don't want to do that, and they get called back. So I start to move down in an attempt to threaten these dogs a little bit. This guy throws some flames, but it's not a particularly effective flame throw. So I go down to dodge that. In the end, all I do is throw some javelins at them, because chasing them isn't really a lot of use. You get 3 just throws of javelins with the barbarians rather than 2 like you get with the Romans. So you can use them fairly freely. I wouldn't worry about them too much, and I just try and throw them where I can. Yeah, so then we are back on the defensive, and I throw my flames. These double unit of hoplites run through it. I actually get a nice amount of damage, 3,000 and 4,500 there. And because they run through the flames. I threw them because they were both clustered together. The larger cluster of enemies you could throw them into, basically, the better. So these hoplites here, these 2 Greek Athenian hoplites, are pursuing us. And I'm just trying to pull back for them, when these war dogs come charging towards us, and I have no choice but to turn a unit against these dogs. I charge into them and try and sort of counter them a little bit. But these dogs are brutally effective. I mean brutally effective. They just cut us down so quickly. And unfortunately as well, we then get charged into by the hoplites as well. I thought our ally was going to come and help us on this hoplite front, but he decides that he'd rather go and chase the horses, which was a bit unfortunate. So it means I've got more to contend with. So I flank one of my other barbarian units and get stuck into the handlers rather than the actual dogs themselves, while this unit is having to fight the dogs. Thankfully these hoplites don't really get that stuck in. They sort of are a bit unsure about who they want to engage as well, so that gives me some opportunities to at least try and kill a few of these dogs. We guess I'm starting to get some damage on these handlers. We have got light forest, so we've got a slight melee defense and attack bonus, but then so have the handlers on the dogs, because they're also barbarian infantry. And while we are accruing up a lot of points, because each of these dog units counts as a whole unit, so we're sort of half healthing all these units, and it's great. Our units are just being pushed back and back and back, and we're just taking so many casualties in the process that it's very unfortunate. These hoplites here end up actually routing as our friendly barbarian infantry charge into the back of them, which was a really good move. And we're doing a reasonable job of hurting these dog handlers here with our barbarian infantry, although it's turning into a bit of a tough fight and we're not doing that well considering. Then the remnants of our units here, we smash iron discipline so we don't rout while fighting these last dogs, but there's only one man left with 50 hit points, and is not really going to last very long. I don't think he actually survives this engagement, unfortunately, which is not surprising. Dog handlers realise that they're probably best getting out of this situation, which they do. They run away, and I can't keep up with them really, or I didn't particularly want to chase them, so I didn't. guy throws in some hoplites, so I try and get into the round. But it's all a bit intense at this point because, you know, we've been fighting continually since the start of the battle. So I try and get a bit of flank on him and do a bit of damage. But he starts to actually put quite a lot of damage on me pretty quickly, even in hoplites. And this is kind of one of the really annoying thing about hoplites, is they just sort of turn around in a circle just doing 360 degrees. And obviously everything they touch does an immense amount of damage. So I just try and disengage from this fight because they're just doing a massive amount of damage to me and I can't really actually hurt them. Then just to top it all off, I then get charged by cavalry. It's like a never-ending swarm of enemies. Hopefully at least it looks like my ally is coming in to assist me a little bit here and fighting against these cavalry. The good thing is now these hoplites can't really go into phalanx mode because they've got too many allies nearby. Or if they go into phalanx mode like that, they're then going to just do lots of damage against their own cavalry. Look at the amount of damage they're doing to their own cavalry, which is really good. So they just ended up killing loads of their own guys there, which is brilliant. Why they thought going into phalanx right behind their own infantry was a good idea, I don't know. So these phalanx hoplites try to charge me again, and I saw that, I don't want to be fighting them. I run out and our ally does a lovely little volley of javelins into them, which was quite enjoyable. So we've been within about the first couple of minutes of the game. We've only had about 3 or 4 minutes of the match, and well, we've done really good on the aggression. We've actually killed a lot of enemies, which is great. But I was left with only this tiny little unit left. We actually end up just trying to harass the enemy, basically. We do a little bit of damage to the Romans with our fire, and then we start to throw a few of our javelins at these Hastati, which is a reasonable amount of damage. And sort of just being an annoyance, which is what we're trying to do. Trying to keep, supporting our remaining allied barbarian units here, and just trying to keep ourselves in the game, really, even though we've basically lost a lot of our units. You know, it's not complete. It's very easy just to throw these units away, even though we can actually still accrue up a fair bit of damage if we play carefully. So we managed to basically avoid their infantry charge, although one poor man got clipped at the back. And we run off into the long grass, since obviously I don't want to get surrounded by hoplites and Hastati. But at the same time, I'm loitering close enough that we can maybe move in to do some assistance if needed. Our friendly allies get charged by these brigands again, who are very annoying and doing quite a lot of damage. They then do their mount kick, which does quite a lot of damage, although I think they take some casualties as they try and then run out of that engagement. So I'm again here. I managed to throw some more javelins against these hoplites here. We do a little bit of damage against them, and then I'm being driven back by these Romans a little bit. But it looked like the Romans aren't particularly following me so much as just going straight. So I thought I'll come and see if I can do anything against these hoplites, maybe. As they're trying to chase down these friendly barbarians. It looks like the enemy cavalry is coming in again in our poor units, but he turns on them. That's quite a good move. And again, because of the nearby proximity of allies, these hoplites can't really go into the phalanx mode. I come and have a look round, see if I can get round here, maybe do something. But I decide that since our ally is now pulling back, which I think is the right move in this situation, then we can as well. And you've got to consider we're holding up quite a large number of enemies with a couple of damaged units, considering that we're holding up, 3 units of cavalry, 3 units of hoplites, and some Hastati all over this area just to try and kill this handful of units. So actually preventing them engaging in this fight, where our allies actually stand more of a chance because they're not going to fight quite so many people. But unfortunately things are starting to go against us even down here as well. Things really aren't starting to look very good, and the battle's really turning against us now. Our ally does a good throw with the flame and causes quite a amount of damage to the enemy hoplites. I just avoid these units who have now decided that I think trying to chase us around is just a waste of their game, and they actually start to ignore us completely, and they start to just try and head down to the centre to find a better engagement, I think. Which is fine, which is good for us. It gives me a bit more flexibility, so I sort of basically just shadow them and sort of give chase, for want of a better word. We're just following them around. I have got my flame now fully recharged. I have used up all my javelins in my various engagements, so that's not going to work so well for me. And I've actually got some hoplites behind me as well. So all in all, we've not actually had a bad game. We've done quite a lot of damage to the enemy team. We've just been basically overwhelmed. There wasn't really enough of us with these, just with the 2 of us, to fight all of these enemy units that we had to deal with. It would perhaps been better to pull back at the start when we first got that first capture point and saw how many enemies there were. It would perhaps been a wiser move. So I continued to push down. I was thinking about trying to go for this unit and throwing some fire into them, but we get rear-flanked by the cavalry, who didn't actually get a charge off into me, so it seemed a good time to just stick with them. We got charged by these hoplites, but because of the enemy cavalry, they didn't really actually do very much damage to us, other than us being knocked down. And then we basically end up somehow sort of passing through this hoplite, which means we can start to accrue quite a lot of damage, considering look, we've only got 1,000 hit points. We're up to like 2,500 damage to this hoplite unit already. I'm actually being quite effective, and they realise we're actually cutting them down and they can't turn back on us. So we try and use a harass to sort of keep up with them, and we knock a couple of them down. So considering that, you know, we could easily have thrown our life away, we actually then have accrued up, what, 4,000 damage against this unit? With just our damaged unit, and we've forced them out of phalanx and forced them to disengage from our allies. So my point is basically that just because even if you've screwed up at the beginning of the game and basically lost all your units, that is not a reason to quit. Keep going, fight on. You can do quite a lot with damaged units. We get a very, very small amount of damage against these Hastati. Obviously the amount of flame I can deploy is not very much anymore, so we can't do all that much damage with that. But then I'm just trying to look for my next engagement. Obviously I don't really want to face these Hastati head on because there's quite a lot of them there and they'll cut me to pieces, particularly in the open. So I'm just looking for a nice opportunity. This is a cavalry. I thought, oh, if they're going to stand there, I'll charge into them. But unfortunately they see me and decided to get out. But then they kind of get tangled in our own allied hoplite units, our Greek hoplites. So I thought, sod it, we'll go and charge in and see what we can do against this cavalry. A very small amount of damage from the charge, but then we get stuck in and we do a little bit of damage to them as they try and pull out. I was just trying to do is see if I could do enough to help tip this battle back in our favour, because it's pretty strongly against us now. But while it's against us, it's actually only, you know, less than 100 points difference. So I mean, it's not impossible to come back from this sort of situation. Then I didn't want to get caught in these enemy hoplites, and I know they were routing anyway, so I didn't see any point in that. I thought the best thing I could do with my sort of handful of units is to try and harass these hoplites here. Since they're trying to take cover from our friendly artillery up on the hill, although that is about to be knocked out, I thought it might be a good opportunity to try and push around, see if I can get behind them, something like that, before they can get in phalanx. And I see they enter phalanx facing in that direction, facing sort of the south of the map, so I just walk around them, my handful of units, and just start stabbing them in the back, basically. They then obviously think, oh god, you know what they're doing, so I pull back, but because of that, they turn away from my allies, who get a lovely charge into them. Look at that, get a massive knockdown on them, and do quite a lot of damage. I can then just run straight back into them. So, you know, this is kind of what I'm trying to achieve, is to just be that harassing, annoying force. And considering, you know, I've had nothing left, I think I've done quite a good job of sort of haranguing them and annoying these guys throughout the rest of the game. Just making their game a little bit harder. I'm actually getting a little bit of damage in against these guys. Unfortunately, I think it's just a case that the battle had turned too much against us at this point, and unfortunately we can't really win. I throw a bit of fire into the middle of this blob. We get a little bit of damage, but not enough to do anything significant to turn this battle back in our favour. And, you know, it's just, unfortunately, the beginning of the end. I think about going for these guys, but they do turn around. And then I've got these guys in hoplite there, and then I kind of get caught. And I come to the coast of the hoplite, and I sort of get sandwiched between the enemy hoplite and our friendly hoplite, and sort of get cut to pieces. And that basically spends the end of my match. One little man who ends up charging himself to death, I think, at this point. Who runs into the back of an enemy and dies. So yes, unfortunately it wasn't enough to bring this battle back. I think some of the errors I made in this one was, at the start, I think we should have both pulled back from this initial point. We saw that there was 9 enemy infantry units and we only had 6, and then when those enemy cavalry turned up as well, that turned it into sort of 2v1 across the whole time, and that probably wasn't really in our favour. But I think we fought a favourable rearguard, and we managed to keep the battle going, despite the fact things sort of took quite a lot of casualties at the start of the game. I have been enjoyed, and you know, from a point of view of these barbarian infantry units, they are very enjoyable. They do operate nicely in forests. I like that flexibility, the ability to sort of keep fighting, and the manoeuvrability they get is pretty good. So they do seem to fight pretty well. I'm quite a fan of them. Obviously, as I said before, you get that fighting bonus once you're in. Oh, artillery is skipped. You get that fighting bonus when you're in a forest. In light forest, you get plus 15% melee attack and melee defense, and in dense forest, you get 25% melee attack and defense, and that's quite a lot. And that's so, you know, fighting Romans in the forest, you should be on a pretty level playing field. So that's certainly achievable. But apparently, watch out for war dogs; they're quite effective against them. Although obviously these units aren't fully upgraded yet, and once we've got the better swords and the better shields and everything like that, they'll probably stand a bit of a better chance of both the handlers and the dogs. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. We'll just watch this battle to the end. I don't think it's got too long left to run now. Our artillery is just trying to panically shell the base. I've only just noticed quite how many corpses there are sort of arrayed around this base. Look at the amount of fighting that's been going on around here. It's just an absolute slaughter. But all in all, not a too bad a battle. We did 202,700 aggression damage. We got a few support points and stuff in there where we sort of did a few decaps as well. So all in all, not too bad. I don't know what these guys are doing on here. They're absolutely miles away from the artillery. How this artillery is still firing, I don't really know. Looks like I suspect they are going to get attacked by the enemy unit shortly, or they're just going to get capped out once the enemy wins this. Or if we're not careful, in 35 seconds, we're going to win just on the tick out on the timer, because we're massively outnumbered on the point score. So while we're just waiting this to end, one thing I might quickly mention is, if you don't know, I do some Twitch streaming occasionally, every now and then. I wouldn't go quite so far to say once a week, but I try and do it once a week. Although I've been quite busy with work recently, so I haven't had much of a chance to do streaming. But there should be a link to my Twitch channel down below, so be sure to follow me on Twitch and you'll get a notification when I go live. And I'm going to try and do, next time we're streaming, I'm going to perhaps try and do a few plays with some of you guys who want to play with me, so we can sort of have a bit of sort of more of an interactive stream. Maybe something like that might be quite cool. And yes, so that is the end of that battle. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode on the Barbarian Infantry. I'll certainly be continuing down this tech tree like I have been the other ones. So we'll get onto the tier 5s soon enough. I don't know who the tier 5s are. The warriors. Oh, that's easy enough. Even I can pronounce that. There's the Harassment as well, which I might consider playing with. Someone I've sort of have wanted to go down. Which is a quick question actually. Who do you guys use as your Harassment commander? Vercengeterix could be an interesting Phalanx commander, particularly with things like Defiance. Considering sort of Phalanxmen are all about sort of attack strength, having Defiance and having a large number of men who don't end up dying could be quite useful, because you're allowed to continue to keep that damage up. But I'd be interested to hear about that. Or I've seen some people use it with Arminius maybe for the speed and that frenzy, which gives a massive increase to melee attack. So let me know what you do with the Phalanxmen, and we'll probably have a go at playing them at some point in the future as well. So thank you for watching, guys. Give the video a like, and I shall see you all on the next episode.